What's up, Maya?
Yo.
Yo.
Is it time for the intro?
Oh, it's time for the intro.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'll let you play a little bit. I've done it plenty of times.
Right,
so
right.
you see what you can create.
You hear that? Did they hear it?
Oh, yeah, they'll hear it.
Okay,
Everything we
cool.
hear, they hear.
Fabulous. What about, okay, wait, what's this? I was going to try and play Stacy's mom, but I don't know how.
The trouble is like one main note you can play.
Yeah. There's got to be songs like that.
With one note?
Yeah.
One note song?
Gotta be.
It's gotta
Some kind of Britney Spears joint.
I don't know. Happy Birthday is very monotone, but I don't know. Is it notes or is it like?
Wrong person to ask.
You
Music
don't
to
know?
me,
Yeah.
music to me is completely incomprehensible.
Same.
And I have no idea. The building blocks are confusing, and also it's pretentious to know how music works.
Well, it's pretentious to be pretentious about it.
Yes. True. Some people are totally chill
Yeah.
about guitar, but no, I have no idea how it works.
The person in my world who knows the most about music
Mhm.
is this guy named Jacob Kalberman, who like I used to do these like Jewish family events with.
Nice.
He's like a music genius, but he like never talks about it.
Oh.
But then you you see him
beautiful
like
is
play
that?
guitar, and you're just like, what the fuck? This guy's like, I'm on it. But the part of it's like, I don't know that he's like really that good at guitar.
Uh-huh.
But my other friends who know music,
Right.
they see him and like I see their jaws drop, and they're like, what the fuck?
Completely. I know it's like when people talk about, I love Charlie XCX. I love Charlie XCX's music. It makes me happy, and I like it. But
I don't really know what, to be honest with you.
It's like,
I'm sure I would recognize the song, but not off the top of my head. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I don't know pop. I just
No.
I'm not sure which ones are hers.
And I got to tell you something. You really should. I recommend her highly.
Hell yeah.
I think
I'll check her out.
I think you'd like it.
I probably would.
But people always talk about her production is so good, and I'm like, sure, I like the music, but the production end of it, I like don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
When people talk about like mixing and mastering music, I'm like, they're turning up the. Is it just making the bass louder? I don't get it. I don't get any of it.
People used to say that about Kanye, and I was like, do you mean like how the notes are smooth? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I'm sure it
it's
means something. And
tinny.
people are furious at us right now.
I know.
And then they're like, and people are mad about how my podcast production sounds
That's
bad or
right.
something.
No,
I'm
there's
like,
gonna be some angry comment.
I don't know
Like,
what to
yeah,
tell
I'm gonna take music advice from these guys. But yeah, no, I went to Oberlin College, which has this music conservatory, and I think that informs my kind of like musicians are pretentious thing, because it was
Sure.
They obviously had to take it seriously. It was their school. But yeah, I was friends with a bunch of musicians who were incredibly talented, and I'm still friends with. But there was a sense of like, yeah, like I don't know, you were cool if your music was good. But then I'm like, oh, comedy's kind of like that too. Where like if you're good at comedy, you like. There's like social clout to that. Anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I like when people are kind.
Yeah.
You know?
That's my thing too.
That's a big element.
I
yeah.
love the kindness piece. Yes.
Yeah.
No, and I feel like.
There should be a kind test.
Yeah.
There should be like a show where you show how kind you are.
There was a show at BCC at one point. I don't even know who ran it, but it was called "They Were Nice to Me."
Oh, somebody still does that.
Yeah.
I think isn't there one coming up, I think?
I think so. Right. But I just love that premise. It's like, yeah, I booked people because they've been nice to me.
That's good.
It's a great idea.
That's a great way to intermingle kindness and clout.
100%. And then you know who's kind. Then you know who to look out for.
Yeah.
You're at a party, you don't know who to talk to.
Unless
you talk to one of the people booked on that show.
Yeah, I was gonna say unless they you specifically schmooze those people because they're that they have a show where that matters.
That's right.
I'm gonna start a show called "They Schmoozed Me."
Schmooze. I've been schmoozed.
I've been schmoozed. And it'll be I only book people who were cold to me and then decided to be nice to me once they thought I was funny. I'll be like, they successfully
and I'm going to reward
schmoozed
that.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before the pod, we were talking about writer's block.
Yes.
For a split second, I was going to ask more about it.
I love that stuff.
How do you...
Ooh, I love it.
How does it feel for you?
Yeah.
And then two, how do you get out of it?
Totally. And this is an awesome subject because it's something I'm dealing with currently.
Same.
In a way that's freaking me out.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
Why is it freaking out? I don't. Mine feels usual to me. Mine feels like regular. So I'm curious why is it.
Totally. Yeah, and it does feel kind of regular in general. I'm like, this is something I'm always kind of struggling with, but I've kind of been like replaying or like analyzing my own work since the pandemic and trying to like refocus on. I think I was just so excited to get out and perform after the pandemic, or like once things opened up again, that I just I felt so positively about the experience of performing but then at a certain point I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm producing. I know I like performing, but what do I like producing? So I've been kind of like in my head about like, okay, what kind of stuff do I want to put out? And nothing's like coming to me. I'm not having any like awesome big ideas.
So the initial fun joy of just getting back in has worn off.
A little bit. Although that'll always be like the attraction. Like my favorite part of the stuff that we do is being on stage. Like I like the present moment thing. The writing of jokes and the like conceiving and the practicing and the honing is awesome and necessary, but it's not like what draws me to it. And so that it hasn't like worn off insofar as I don't appreciate it, but it's no longer when I get ready for shows, I'm like, I need to have something I'm trying to share. I can't just like show up and, though there are performers who do that, who show up and improvise and are like fabulous at it. But in the pursuit of trying to come up with something cool to share, I'm finding myself being like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Well, what's it like for you? What are you dealing with?
I mean, I feel a little bit of the opposite where the writing jokes is what draws me to it. The performing is feels like a necessary way to test the jokes and to get them like heard.
Yeah.
But it's like honestly, being in the room in that moment doing the joke matters way less to me than like the having a cool idea.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so literally diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I mean, like that's so when you talk about having writer's block, like what does that look like in that context? If what matters to you really hard is like the joke or like the writing.
Exactly.
What does that feel like?
I feel like I'm not having good enough ideas or that I'm not writing enough or maybe like, and it's from a different series of angles of like time management, where it's like I'll have free time and instead of like getting myself to write, I'll play Minecraft for 3 hours.
Yes. No, I was just saying before the pod, they just released a new Xenoblade game.
Hell yeah.
And I don't even really like it. And I'm just spending all of my time playing it when I have a show this weekend and I don't know what the heck I'm going to do on it. You know what I mean?
Is it a show where you have to do new material? Or is
Theoretically not. So I started doing the show because what I recognized when I was analyzing like my relationship to performing and like what I want out of this stuff or whatever, the thing that matters to me is that feeling of being like interactive and present on stage. So I was like, why don't I just make a show where it's up to me to control the vibe of the room, which is what I like to do. And then I can sprinkle in bits and jokes along the way. But yeah, so it doesn't require it of me.
Wait, so how are you gonna control the vibe? What's the?
I know it's kind of like a weird, ominous way of describing having fun and trying to make people have fun.
Like guarantee a fun vibe.
Yeah. I
am curious how you do that. Is that?
I'll say like that is if I were to toot my own horn in any way, I feel really good at getting the audience on board. I feel really good at like having genuine fun on stage in such a way that like I hope and I think kind of works sometimes of bringing people into that feeling of fun. And so I feel good at being even if an audience is cold, I feel like I'm good at warming them up.
That's good. Get a sort of contagious energy.
Yes.
I was thinking I need to learn that more.
I don't know.
Well, I mean for hosting like I feel like if for doing my own set in a context where it's like a show, I could do fine. But if it's like if it's my own show or something, and the audience is cold, I have a hard time addressing it or something.
Sure.
Especially if somebody goes up, then like afterwards when you go up, like, hey, you got to be more active. You're gonna feel bad or like
yeah. No, I think it's like that's such a thing where like you're in the middle and you're like, oh, I don't know how do I absolutely like disrupt what's happening here in order to kind of redefine what's supposed to be happening or like jingle jangle it
without tipping the hat that you're like lecturing a crowd of people to
100%.
like
well, I think
vibe correctly.
A common tactic that people use that drives me absolutely nuts is being like, well, that one didn't work. You know what I mean? A lot of people are like, on some level, it's the audience's problem that something didn't fly. And it's a kind of a way of trying to say, like, you're not giving me what I want, which is like a totally natural thing to feel on stage. It's like, I really wish you guys could join me in this. It would be going better if you could like me right now, you know? But you can't force people into that. You can just try to like talk to them essentially, or like bring them in on something via your behavior, not via like a shaming tactic. But
I've definitely seen people do the thing where they're like, that crushed the other night.
Yes.
And you're like, cool, this isn't the other night.
No.
Tonight it bombed.
It hasn't been the other night since that night. You're like referencing something that's absolutely gone forever.
It's like, as long as you film that night and put a reel out, you're done.
That's right. A reel. Oh my God. So true. I know.
I'm getting annoyed by reels.
You
have to do them, but it's also like, I want to see what my old high school friends are up to, but I have to go through all these reels of like comedians I've met like once.
Oink.
You know what I mean?
Oingo boingo. Absolutely not. Why do I care? I haven't even tried the reel thing because I'm like, I don't know. Is there reach? Does it do anything?
Oh yeah. No, the algorithm is really, really strong. That's why people are doing it. Oh yeah. The algorithm's really powerful. That's why people are doing. Not only that, hate to do. I don't. You know what? I don't want to enable more people to like start posting reels.
Well,
so I don't want to.
We'll see what happens tomorrow.
You all enable, but yeah. But yeah, no, for sure. Like some people's stuff just like done really well.
Damn.
I haven't done super well with the reels.
Yeah.
Yet.
Crazy.
I'm hoping to.
Well, because I guess
like
I'm
fishing,
like, yeah, right. No, literally, you're just putting out bait. But like, at a certain point, I was like, oh, my Instagram has very little to do with my like comedian self. It's a lot more about like my friends sharing pictures. Like to me, it's more of it's become kind of a Facebook thing where it's social.
You still on Facebook?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I don't do anything on it except for I like to see who from high school is getting married.
They don't post it on Instagram?
I don't follow them on Instagram because I'm not that interested.
Oh.
I want like a brief update. I don't want a constant stream of information. And I don't want to like know about what you did last night. I want to know about the wedding.
You don't have to watch their story.
I know, but I just scroll through this. I just watch everybody's story.
You watch everybody's story?
Well, then I don't go through and I watch all of them, but I don't like curate. I guess you could mute people. How do you curate what stories you watch besides like being like...
I just don't click on the circle.
Damn.
And then I train my algorithm. I'm like, look, I don't really know that person. I'm not watching their stories.
Fair. Damn. Yeah. For me at this point, Instagram is like looking at people's stories in order to feel like either FOMO or excitement.
Yeah. We're also talking about FOMO a little bit.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I'm on it for the very social aspect. So when I think about like doing a reel or something and having reach on Instagram, I'm like, so what? So they can see a picture of me I like? It's not my Twitter where it's like my ideas and my like comedic voice. It's much more like Maya as human, or as whatever. But yeah.
It's no Wendleton's Ment.
No, it is not.
That's Maya's Twitter is Wendleton's Ment.
Yes.
Which is great, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I like you've got a really unique you have a very unique sense of humor and vibe.
Hey.
And it makes me smile and laugh.
Oh
often.
My God. Oh my God. Thank you. Yeah, Wendleton's Ment. I love Wendleton's Ment.
It's very goofy.
Yes.
What is Wendleton's Ment? Where's the name from?
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean.
Funny.
I literally like during the pandemic for whatever reason, it was like a phrase that was like stuck in my head. Like I just kept saying it in my head, and I didn't know why, and I don't know what it is. But every time I went to go type a tweet, I would start with being like Wendleton's Ment, or like I'm experiencing Wendleton's Ment. And I don't know what it is, so I made it my name. But
it feels like a 1800s like toy shop guy who's sad.
Yeah. It feels like some kind of like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
But like
some magical realism
era.
Yeah, and he's like Depression era magical realism guy who has Ment and the Ment is some sort of
sadness.
Issue or specifically sadness related to like an enchantment.
Yes. And kind of without a doubt, absolutely. Yeah, no, poor guy.
Is that the vibe that you get from it when you?
Yes. Absolutely. Well, I used to be really into, I don't know if I ever made this my Twitter handle, but I used to say like, I'm experiencing Sharma's lament a lot. And it is kind of like Wendleton's Ment is like this, I get to be a different kind of guy experiencing a different kind of Ment, you know?
And then what?
I'm just trying to go through my Ment. But, you know, I was at some kind of party and there was someone on Twitter that I didn't, or there was a guy there who's someone on Twitter who I didn't know of, but a friend introduced me and was like, this guy's so funny. And I was like, yes. And I haven't really seen his stuff. I'm sure he's very, very funny. But he said, he was like, who are you on Twitter? I said Wendleton's Ment. He was like, what does that mean? And I was like, well, it's Wendleton's Ment. It's kind of a non-thing. And he was just like, I don't get that. And I was like, damn, I really thought everyone got it. You know?
I feel like it's gettable.
I thought so too. I was like, oh, you get it. It's Wendleton's Ment. It's some kind of a weird, twisted, enchanted sadness.
Right.
But
is that like, was that entirely accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing I haven't put words to, but you're absolutely right. I mean, completely
That's the vibe
correct.
I got. Yeah.
Yes.
I do like it.
And so I took it away when this person said it doesn't make sense. Yeah, you nailed it. So when this person didn't get it, I changed my name because I was like, oh, if this isn't landing.
Oh, so it went back to Wendleton's Ment.
Yes, I changed it back because I had a different friend who came up to me at a party and was like, you need to change it back. I miss it. And now it feels like, all right, great. Like I've gotten the validation I need on this thing that was like so integral to my brain for a time. Like it was just the first thing I thought of all the time. Anyway, It feels good to get thank you. You know what I mean?
For sure. I think also if people don't get your sense of humor, it's like just leave them by the wayside. Don't adjust it.
I know.
It's like sometimes I'll tweet something that I really enjoy and I'll lose a bunch of followers and I'm like, that's how I know that's good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure. I know. I feel like
shit, fuck.
my thing keeps changing. Like it's so interesting that you say that. Like I have, you hear my voice and have like a clear idea of my comedic voice, and I keep thinking that I'm fluctuating between like kind of an irony, like weird Twittery zone, and then this kind of like earnest musical theater kid who is doing diary online. But it probably all does come out in the wash. Like it all kind of probably sounds like my voice, even if I'm over analyzing and thinking about like.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
I mean, in my head, I've got this idea of having like. Because everybody's got multiple sides to them.
Of course.
And then, but to outside it reads as like singular.
Yeah.
I think of having like the pure joke side, and then having sort of the like weirder stuff, and then kind of like this earnest romantic side that I like sometimes will let slip.
100%.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, you're exactly right. Where it's like, absolutely, all those facets are yours, and they all come out. But to me, I'm like, oh, right, that's Benny. I'm not like, oh, that's multiple different things. I'm like, right, the person Benny with all the different things.
Yes.
Hey, and that's a classic example of getting myself out of my own shoes, or putting myself in your shoes, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Difference in perspective. It's about switching up that perspective.
Yeah, it is useful to hear.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
I mean, but it's funny you say those two. The idea of you being irony person or earnest musical theater, because I don't think that's what I would have. I would describe it like with Wendleton's Ment with the name.
Right.
I would describe some of your tweets as more within the, I guess whimsical does fall under musical theater earnest. But they're still jokes. They're still within the. They're like you're doing some sort of whimsy, but it's funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I guess it's like in my brain that's like always looking to kind of like it can't not cannibalize itself. Maybe that's what I mean. Like my brain is always trying to like eat itself in order to gain information about myself, and it's like a weird feedback loop of like self-analyzation that's like not helpful. You know what I mean? But in that process, I'm always like confused about the way I am received, or like the output and what it's feeling like to other people. And in my mind, it's like, well, I'm either engaging in this. In my brain, it's this kind of like mask versus femme thing of like sometimes I'm like I feel like this like video gamey weird, like Tim and Eric girl, like the kind of like proto Maya from childhood, right? Who like felt like a weird person. And then there's a different kind of weird person, which is like musicals and like, I like that term, like kind of romantic thing that's like a little bit more femme in nature. And so I'm always feeling that dueling of the two things. But you're right. It's like there is kind of a whimsy to both. Damn.
It's cool. But I like what you're saying with the idea of like the proto self.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's useful to think of also like these. It's like it's not like you just have two and they're just like in parallel lines together for the camera, but it's like two hand. But it's like you have like sort of this like layers. Like it's like you look at like the tree rings of your personality and see like, oh, in like 11th grade is like for me personally that's when I decided to get more into like indie video games or whatever.
Why?
And like that really like
what happened?
I think trying to be nerdy on purpose. But then really enjoying that stuff and going, oh, this is actually part of me now.
100%.
You know what I mean? And then like, and then core going to like nature camp and stuff as like a kid and all that. And like,
you were nature camp?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Really?
I follow the Twitter still of like, not the camp itself, but like this like Wissahickon nature trail.
Damn.
And they posted like these photos of kids like crawfishing in the creek from where I used to go. And I was like,
That's giving you heart stuff that made you feel like your heart.
Yeah, I was like, I missed it so much, but
Damn.
But also happy for those kids to have the same experience.
Hell yeah, that's legacy.
What's proto Maya? What's oldest Maya?
So oldest Maya is musical theater for sure.
That's the first one, like middle school. Elementary school? Really?
Well, I was musical theater and anime. Those were the two things.
As a kid, even? Wow. Okay.
So when I was a kid, it was like my favorite things in the world would be like going to see a musical or listening to musicals as music, and then like watching Sailor Moon and an anime in general.
It's so funny. I mean, part of why I'm so surprised is because like I just didn't even like know what anime was until like 10th grade. You know what I mean? I mean, I probably knew what it was, but I didn't like realize it was like a thing you could get into. Yeah. The whole world.
Well, I had my older brother, 2.5 years older. And I think we got into it like through Toonami on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know, Sailor Moon used to play like maybe on Fox Kids, like in the morning or something. But that was like the intro. And then I guess my brother like was more versed in the computer and like what it meant to like a torrent a season of something, you know.
So he could torrent Sailor Moon for you.
Yeah. I just remember I literally remember being on Napster, downloading very specific music from like a season of Sailor Moon you couldn't get in the U.S. Like that was kind of the tenor of it, was like this obsessive.
And this is as a kid.
Yeah. Like I must have been 4th grade or 3rd grade.
You were torrenting stuff
because I had the older brother on the inside.
But he was 2.5 years. He's in 6th grade or 7th grade. That's so funny.
We were very well. If you were like doing nature stuff, we were very indoor kid.
Oh, sure.
Like we were video games and like going on the computer from.
I was also video
that
games.
Also,
yeah, for sure.
When you were that young,
I had a limit, so it's like my favorite thing to do was play video games. But for after an hour, my parents would force me to stop, so I had to go outside or something.
That's a beautiful thing. I think that's great.
Yeah.
We didn't have. Oops.
You'd have the limit. Oh
no. We did not have the limit. My speculation, if I were to, I was going through a divorce, and my mom was basically like single momming it. So I think she was just kind of like, make sure you get your homework done. I have to go do my job. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think we had like kind of free reign, which allowed us to really become as obsessive as we were. Like we would play a video game like quickly and like get through all of it and then research it. You know, like it was very kind of like.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It allowed us to be as like truly nerdy as we got to be, as young as we got to be it. But yeah, Proto Maya is anime and musicals via like my mom and like more kind of familial stuff. And those were the first two things. And then when you were talking about kind of like intentionally getting into nerdy stuff, that for me feels like in high school, I very intentionally got into like indie music at the time.
Same.
Like I remember going on MySpace and like clicking on the profiles of people who looked cool via like friends of friends, and then going to their music section and writing down the bands and then going, and then how did I like even research them? Like, I feel like on like Last FM, I'd look up all of these bands, and like, that's why I found like Neutral Milk Hotel and like,
Death Cab for Cutie.
Yeah.
I went down that whole same rabbit.
Yeah.
Similar rabbit. Like I had this friend who was like the cool guy.
Right.
And I just like would stalk the shit out of his Spotify.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course. Like, you had to.
Start dressing like him and everything.
And I'm like, if he's the cool guy, how did he get into it? Was there an even cooler guy? You know? Who's the first cool guy?
Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yeah.
That's
it. I mean, and that was also, I went to an arts summer camp. That is where I like met the cool people, you know? So like, what? So like, I'm trying to think. Oh, there was a guy who like at the talent show played.
Also, I do know what you mean. I was just
yeah.
I had a Hinge notification on my phone.
I didn't even see it. I wonder. We gotta find out who it is.
Hinge is dog shit. Anyway, I'm
really?
sorry. You went to I don't know. I don't like it.
I'm not on any of the apps, so I'm kind of like, I'm always like, what's it like?
I don't like any of them.
I'm sure.
Sorry, what were you saying?
You went
to arts camp. That's why I have the guests silence their phones.
Yeah.
Shit like that doesn't happen. But
right.
I looked at the worst possible time.
That's so funny. There was a guy I remember, cool guy, who at the talent show did maps by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and I was like, "What is that?"
For a second in my head, it was like he did maps. Like
yeah,
he's like, "I am here."
Imagine that. Imagine map guy is like the coolest.
Yeah.
Like everyone cheers like crazy when he unfurls.
They say like, yeah, especially arts camp. Like he just like made like a 3D textured globe.
Why not?
That'd be sick
honestly,
as fuck,
very
actually.
cool.
That'd be really cool.
Map guy.
But he did maps by the Yeah Yeahs?
Yeah, he did. I
can imagine.
Yeah, he did maps, Yeah Yeahs, and that I just remember so clearly being like, oh, whatever that is, that's a certain kind of clout that I want.
Yeah.
Not only do I like it and want to listen to it, but like, I got that was like a kind of cool or like a kind of community I really wanted to be a part of. Like when you say you intentionally got into like indie video games, it was like I ended up loving it. It became so much about like my identity and how I spent my time was all this indie music, but it started as like, I want to be a part of this.
Yes.
It was very intentional.
Yeah. It's the in-group, out-group.
Mm-hmm.
Something in my mind is that people have clowned a lot on Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
But I feel like just having a similar background of video games and trying to be into indie stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like Scott Pilgrim probably for you similarly was sort of important milestone.
And here's
marker.
the rub. I've never seen it.
Really?
Never seen it.
Okay.
But it feels, I mean, even though I've never seen it, while you were talking about it, I was like, absolutely. I mean, it is so akin to exactly what my deal was.
Yeah.
Part of my thing is I don't really like movies. I don't watch movies.
No, my mom doesn't either, so
really?
I've heard that before.
It always feels like so alienating. I feel like especially in the comedy scene, like Letterboxd and being into like the latest film.
I'm not on Letterboxd because that to me feels like the current version of a lot of the pretentious stuff with the music.
I think so too.
The thing with Scott Pilgrim has become kind of like a touch point of one of those like things where people, you know what I'm saying, where people are like infinite jest or whatever.
Totally.
Where it's like, whatever your thoughts are of the material, it's like, I don't know, had a big impact on me in 2011. What can I say?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, of course. And Infinite Jest too.
What was that?
Also Infinite Jest.
I haven't read.
Okay, good. But I do know so many people who like understand what Infinite Jest is in the world and are still like, I don't know, man. It's my favorite book.
I still enjoyed the
There's so many people.
You can still enjoy something even if people make fun of it online, and you can understand.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I know it's funny talking about like you're right. This kind of like, who were you? What were the markers of your identity when you were younger, and like, what do they develop into? I'm like,
I also want to know if you lost any. That's something I'm curious about.
Okay. Yes.
Finish that thought though.
But like, thinking about like that, those markers that we either chose or like fell into. I'm like, oh yeah, like not like I have so many interests, because that's not a great thesis statement, but it's like there are so many different obsessions, pursuits, like interests I have that I'm like, oh, right. Like I've cared about so much different stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I think about myself as like, yeah, well, I like right now, like RuPaul's Drag Race is like something I spend a ton of time thinking about, or like comedy. I always feel like, oh, well, I spent all of my life doing comedy. I'm like, no, I have all of these interests and all these different things that mattered to me throughout my life. Anyway.
It's like when you ask people, when people ask like what you do or something, you say like comedy, and it feels so reductive, and it's like, it's like, but also very specifically, like everybody does comedy differently, and you have to have these other interests to talk about something.
100%. No, otherwise you get that like pitfall, that like what do you call it? Like a stereotype of comedy where
just
it's
talking
like
about airlines and
literally airlines and dating apps. Like that becomes your material, because then that's like, anyway.
You can only talk about the stuff that like living a generic life would be.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Like, like food.
100%. I know. I want to talk about what I lost.
Yes, I'm curious.
In terms of interest, but I also like going back to the what do you call it? Like the writer's block stuff, and thinking about like, what stuff am I bringing to the table? A big part of like me thinking about what kind of stuff I want to produce, I'm like, how personal should it be, and how like I'm trying to figure out how to balance like being personal and sharing stuff about me and my life and my interests with that kind of like whimsical, what if I could create reality thing. So that's just something I've been thinking about a lot, where I'm like,
real stuff is tricky.
Yeah. And I'm like, how do you share that in a funny way? More of what I feel comfortable doing is like figuring out kind of like funny frameworks in order to be creative or imaginative about what life could be like. I'm not like thinking about like, how do I turn the divorce into something funny? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I experience it as complicated, right? And so how do I turn that? So many people are so good at turning complicated personal life stuff into funny jokes.
And it feels like some people think that it's like, that's what stand-up is like supposed to be.
Right.
But it's like stand-up can be anything.
Yes.
And it's I don't do any personal material, but I get a lot of that pressure where I'm like, should I say something? Maybe I'll write 5 minutes about like,
and then see what sticks.
But it's like jokes. I don't know.
You're a great example of like, it doesn't have to be that, because like you have really, really, really strong, funny stand-up that doesn't really touch on like your own like the kind of emotional underpinning of your experience. I don't know.
I appreciate that. And it's funny. I mean, because that is a conscious thought. Because like part of it's like, I do have emotional stuff, but it's like, I don't want to talk about this person. I don't want to talk about, like, I don't, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's just like, but then I also think that like my emotional connection to the stuff in what I do talk about, hopefully does still read.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the thing, is it's not heartless. It doesn't feel like clinical.
Right.
It feels very like of
I
you.
enjoy a bug.
Right.
Yeah.
We know you like bugs by then, right? Like we get to know. We really get to know
we
you.
get it, Benny. You like fucking bugs.
But so there is absolutely like essence of or whatever. But yeah, you don't go into like, it's not jokes about what it was like to be in middle school, or you know what I mean? You're not sharing like tons of personal experience, but we still are getting it like via like, I don't know, transmission of essence.
But I know what you mean. Honestly, I get a version of that pretty often.
Yeah.
Where people, because I think a lot of people are doing personal material, and so when I do not do personal material, I think it is a moment where people go, oh, you know what I mean?
I think you're really good at it.
Not that I'm, plenty of people are doing what I'm doing, but it's just like,
no, I feel the same way, where it's like Ladies Who Ranch, we all started.
Our sketch group.
It's kind of my sketch group.
Yeah. Great sketch group.
Thank you.
Great mic.
I know. R.I.P. the mic.
R.I.P.
I know. That's where I got to know Benny. I knew you from Twitter, but yeah.
True. Yes. Yeah.
I am glad to not have to host a mic every Tuesday anymore, but I do miss the kind of like social element of getting to like hang and meet new people all the time.
Also, I'm keeping track of the two threads.
Right.
I want to hear two things. I want to hear more thoughts on the writer's block, and I want to hear more I want to hear about the things you've lost.
Yeah.
But also briefly, we can say, having open mics as like a communal hang, very important.
Oh yeah, and I think that's why we did it for so long, even though none of us really identify as stand-ups, right? Like, we all do kind of like this bit, what we've always called bits, which I don't know how relevant that is anymore. Like, I don't know how many comedians that I know that I like love and are funny in our scene. Like, I don't know how many people are doing kind of like almost like solo character or like bigger, I don't know, like almost like a sketch but alone. We used to call Ladies Who Ranch solo sketch, essentially.
Really?
Because it would be us alone, each of us individually on stage, but it wasn't stand-up.
What if you guys, what if you guys did a solo sketch show?
We did.
You did?
We had a sketch show that we did.
Like for individuals or whatever. You did that? Is that?
What do you mean?
Like not just for you guys, but like specifically like
booking other
like
people.
kind of a mic. Is that what you did?
So we've done so many iterations. We started our flagship show, the one we do monthly at Union Hall. That is the first thing we did, which was like Sophie Zucker got a slot at the Annoyance Theater, which is like a theater that used to be around. And so we had gone to college together. We booked the women we thought were funny on this show. And we performed, 5 minutes. They did 5. Everyone did their own 5 minutes. And then we were like, okay, we still think all of us are so funny. What if we just keep doing shows where we book ourselves and each of us do 5 minutes? So that's kind of like the hub of Ladies Who Ranch, is each of us having our own individual time and then booking an opener and then doing improv at the end. But then, like, from there, we started to write like sketch. There was a moment where we wanted to do a booked show where we just booked other people in order to like promote people we liked, which was kind of the initial impulse of the show. And then the mic was really the thing, even though it got really tedious to host a thing every week that we didn't really use. Like, actually, I didn't really use. Everyone else did the mic, and I didn't have stand-up, so I didn't know how to do the mic. But the reason we did it was because building community and having
you love community.
I'm obsessed.
I think the first like set I ever saw you do was about building community.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. It really is that in comedy, the two things I care about the most are building community and making sure that people are able to build friendships and collaborations. I love that. Do
you feel like you're chaperoning the comedy scene a little bit?
This is where I'm like, I'm entering this in a new like not sunset of my life. That means you're done. But I'm entering this new like phase of my life where I feel kind of post-pandemic and via the mic, like I've seen so many iterations of the New York, Brooklyn alternative comedy scene that I do feel kind of like, and via the Brooklyn Comedy Collective, which is where I work. It's a venue, and working in both of those ways, I do feel kind of like slightly, and I hope this isn't totally obnoxious to say, but I feel like slightly matriarchal.
No, it's good.
Because I'm like, I've just seen so much, and I want to build places where people can continue to like thrive and come together and da-da-da-da-da.
You're also the exact person that I think we would want in that sort of position. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I guess. Thank you.
I don't know.
No, because
if you want to build community, we want you in the position to build community.
Yes, because like I don't know. Brooklyn comedy has never been super exclusive, but when we first moved here, like the cool kids, the coolest kids were already kind of like established, and so there wasn't this sense of like the elders of the community or like the people who were like had been, I don't know. They weren't like wildly inclusive, and they weren't like really cultivating friendships with us who were like the freshmen or something. And so as we got older, and talking kind of like about Ladies Who Ranch, it became really important to us that like throughout our careers, we never lost that feeling of like bring everybody in, like, because anytime it happened for us, it was so meaningful. And then doing the mic, it's like I just got to meet so many cool people, like you guys in this kind of like post-pandemic iteration of the mic.
I've heard it's been. I mean, what I've heard is that it's been a lot more inclusive post-pandemic. I wasn't here before pandemic.
Yeah. No, it feels like I just met post-pandemic so many new folks who are like now to me like a lot of my favorite comedians. And then pre-pandemic, same thing. Like that's where I met the Meshkis, and that's where I first saw Carly Maruli and Jordan DeFilippo, just all these people who like now I love and
staples of the comedy
you
scene.
know
good friends and hilarious people.
Absolutely, go check them out. But yeah, anyway, but yeah, that is building community is 100% the number one thing to me, because I think like I don't know, I like being funny and I like getting laughs. That feels really good. But when I think about like legacy shit, like I don't know, I guess part of the reason you do comedy is to like have an impact, kind of this almost like, it's not narcissistic, but this kind of like impact that's about your voice making an impact.
Yeah, for sure.
When I think about like legacy wise, what gets me really jazzed is it's like
community.
Yes. Yeah, the idea of
maybe that's what you could be writing about.
Hey,
you could be doing that. Yeah,
you're right.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
100%. And just so you know, I will be going home and thinking about how I can turn that into something funny and not just like what I think. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh, and that we can pull that thread in currently. Mm-hmm. How do you get out of writer's block?
So I feel very lucky that I have a monthly show where I have to write new material. That's what the Ladies Rant show is.
You each do 5?
We do at this point. I think it's 7. Yeah, but
gotcha. Okay.
We each have 7 minutes to do new material, and it's people like try material out again. Like it doesn't have to be new, but personally, like it's the only thing that gets me to write something new. Having a deadline, and especially one where it's like, my show, and so I need to kind of like I feel some ownership over it. So that always helps when I have a deadline, because like you said, managing my free time is not something I am good at.
I didn't say that about you.
No. But when you said it, I was like, management. Yes, me too.
Like you said, I'm bad at managing. Hold on now.
No, but it's literally how I think about myself is like, I have good amounts of free time, but I just am not using it to write.
Yeah.
So having that deadline is really important and forces me to come up with something.
I used to try to have a new 5 minutes every week for open mics.
Damn.
Incredibly hard.
I mean, that's
at some point you just get really watered down.
Yeah,
you know
right.
I mean? So
right.
then it's like every 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like with the kind of comedy you do too, you can insert 2 new things pretty easily. Like you can try out 2 new jokes alongside a lot of things that you've done before that you're continuing to push.
I can at different shows. The thing is, if you go to the same mic over and over again, same stuff, a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you were to hear my cicada joke, you'd be like,
know.
Sure.
I know,
you know
but
I mean?
Sometimes there's I get why you would, because it's like whoever the new folks are in the crowd. Like, I mean, at this point, I think that's how a lot of people get booked. In some ways, like you go to a mic, you see someone really funny, and then you're like, I'll have them on my show.
Oh yeah, if I go to a mic for the first time, I think I'll play the hits.
Yeah.
Just to meet people or whatever.
So you're trying to do. So when you go to mics, how many mics do you go to a week?
One.
Good. Healthy.
I'm trying to go to more, but
yeah.
One is an overestimate right now.
Right. Right. No, I get it. I get that. But yeah, I think so every time you're going to one, you're doing new material.
Yeah, I try to.
Damn.
Yeah, it's the point of a mic for me is, well, I mean, it's not that cool because a lot of times it's just like going up and bombing with some stuff that I'm like, oh, let's see if this works. But yeah, I mean, I should go to more. I'll probably try to go to maybe 1 or 2 now, just because I've got because I haven't been going.
Right.
I've got kind of a backlog of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really believe in stage time as being necessary for stand up.
Right.
I think it's more about writing.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the biggest comedians are up every night in their ass. It's like
you're right.
Spend a week writing instead.
Right.
I don't know.
No, it's a good point. It's because it is it's that classic thing we're talking about where it's like, for me, because the thing that fuels me is getting on stage, I'd much rather go up and tell the same material 1,000 times and figure out how to perfect delivery than try out a bunch of new material, because that's not what gets me jazzed is the writing process.
Oh yeah, it's all about what gets you jazzed personally.
100%.
Wait, so getting out of writer's block, having that pressure, having that time cooker is important for you.
100%.
Having a deadline.
Definitely.
What about individual? It's does that work for the full month? Because how do you know what I mean?
Yes. And the answer is not totally.
Just at the last week or something.
I'm very. I very often for the ladies show, I'll come up with something the week before that I'm thinking I want to do about, like, I don't know, like this last show, I was like, okay, I know I want to do something about baby names. Like, that I'm thinking, I feel like I've had a lot of conversations with people about what baby names they like. I'm going to do something about that. And then I tried to write something, shows on Wednesday, tried to write something on Sunday, and I was like, I don't like this. So then on Tuesday, took another stab at it, really started to like it. Wednesday, polished it up to the point where I felt comfortable performing it. But it really was like, on Wednesday, I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, I like, is this going to be good at all? Like, but having that deadline forced me to go through that process so that by the time I did it at the show, I felt like I liked it a good amount. I got to see how people felt about it. And that's where I will do that bit again.
Nice. Okay.
In order to figure out what emphases work and like how to perform it correctly.
Are you doing other shows?
Not really at the moment.
It's like, because I mean, I wouldn't think to book you because you don't do stand-up.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's like, at the same time, I would want to see you on a show.
Yeah.
But it's like, but you're also doing like bits.
Mm-hmm.
You should just brand it as stand-up.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking like, Nick Mestad, he does like characters.
Yeah.
But it's doing stand-up or like Tim Meyer sometimes does characters or
100%.
Matt Saucedo or like, there's other people who.
Yes.
Am I burping or am I having a tick? Who's to say? Maybe it's a burp masked by a tick.
There you go.
Let's see how we're doing on.
I
we got like 13 minutes. It's an hour and then an hour.
That rocks. That rocks.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so we don't want to lose the thread of the second question before.
Yeah.
So we know how you get out of writer's block. What is something you've lost personality-wise?
Right. Anime is something
Really?
that I no longer engage with at all.
Well, hold on. As I guess like, anime is being part of your personality. How do you feel like it ties in personality-wise? Like,
right.
'cause it's like one thing to be like, oh, I'm no longer into rocks or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, like what is what does that mean for you? You know what I mean?
So like, anime when I was younger was so much a part of my identity. I was one of those kids who like, you see people on TikTok making fun of, like, where you kind of act like an anime character in real life.
Hell
and like,
yeah.
you kind of like, I wore like bells around my neck like a cat. You know what I mean? Like, I was it was my reference point for like, I don't know. I just like cared about it a lot. And I was so young.
That laugh, it is funny, but I don't mean any shame on anybody that is doing that crap.
No. And that's the thing, right? Is it's like, I think it is funny because like when you're a kid and you do stuff that's weird, which is like everybody, it's funny.
I was normal as hell.
Yeah. I loved sports.
No, I was just like, just chilling.
Total blank slate.
Just blank slate, yeah.
But yeah, so it was like so much a part of how I expressed myself. That got less and less, I think, just growing up. Like, I didn't act like an anime character anymore. But as I like lost interest in keeping up with animes, also, I got kind of cut off from a part of myself that is like kind of more true nerd. You know, because I made that active choice to get into indie music, I discovered like Tim and Eric around that time, and my whole thing and I stayed on musical theater, and so my whole thing was like being like, cool, weird for a really long time. That's what I cared about. And then it's kind of been a little bit more recently via video games that I've gotten like more back in touch with the part of me that's like true nerd.
Yeah, like, you got kind of coolified by like calcified in the coolification.
Yeah, that's the coolification.
And then it kind of melted off a bit again with.
Yeah, well, also just like, as you get older, you stop caring about the cool piece.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like it really mattered to me in high school and college, and it was really like, like dialed in to like who was cool and who wasn't, and why were they cool, and was I cool, and were my friends cool? I was just like the word cool. Like I feel like populated my brain a lot, and then as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh yeah, like so many of the people who I thought were cool, like were either
pretentious.
Like pretentious, assholes. Also some of them nice, but just quiet. And I was like, oh, they're cool because they wear cool clothes and they don't talk to me, so they must be like too cool. They're just nice and quiet. But like all of that stuff's just like, who cares?
Yeah.
And as we were saying earlier too, like, in comedy especially, like if your stuff is good, like if you are funny to me, you are cool to me. You know what I mean? Like it's not just like attitude. It's not just, you know, I guess on some level, like what I'm saying is it's impressive, but really it's more like, do I love it? Like, am I drawn to it? That's what's cool.
Oh, for sure. I was at some point, I feel like I might have gone through a similar process where as a kid, I think I was just kind of just hanging out. I was weird, but I was like, you know, into like, I don't know, I guess a lot of generic, the stuff that kids my age were into, like playing like Halo with friends. And I was still weird. I was still, you know what I mean? But then at some point I did go through that forced cool process. But then later on, I really rejected cool, like on purpose, and was like, oh, a lot of this is really bad and sucks and is annoying.
Yes.
And I similarly think that there's types of cool, where it's like there's like somebody could be cool, like a cool person now is like, are they kind to me?
Yes.
Do I like them?
Right.
Just like,
am I drawn to them? Like, do I find them cool? Versus like, are they cool? Kind of like in an objective sense.
In which I find often uncool.
Yes. These days, I'm like, oh right, that sucks.
It's like quote unquote dressing like cool is often I'm like, you're doing in-group out-group stuff.
Yes.
Which is exclusive. Like if you're being exclusive on purpose, based on fashion styles, or like you're sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
100%. And it's like, it feels so classic. Like I remember when I was obsessed with this cool thing in college, especially, I remember like maybe my mom saying like, it's not actually, I know they seem cool, but they're not actually cool. Like,
right.
It's, and I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, I get like the right thing is that being cool is being yourself. Like, of course I get
being
that.
Cool is building community.
You know, right.
But it is, but it actually is.
That's where I've come to.
That's the adult. Yeah.
In time, it's like, oh, I get like, there was this kind of hallmarky or like hallmarky concept of like being yourself is the coolest thing. And I was like, yeah, totally. But in the meantime, these people are cool and I don't feel cool. And then you get to the place where you're like, oh, it's not just like being yourself is cool. It's like, what do you care about? Who cares about similar things? Are they doing it in a way that feels awesome to you? Like, it's just much more personal. It's not that like being yourself is cool. Sure it is. But like, to make it more specific, as I got older, the more specific way I came to understand it is like, what am I drawn to? What do I care about? Who else is engaging in like these things that I care about, these things that I'm drawn to? Do I like the way they're doing it? So that's like, at this point, what's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's like building community, being funny, like whatever.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I at some point I split it in my head of the idea of people being a thing.
Yeah.
And trying to look like they're a thing. And because I noticed I was trying to look like a certain thing. And so then I thought a lot about like, what am I trying to look like?
Yep.
And I thought, if you're trying to look smart, for example, that like sucks and is annoying.
100%.
If you're trying to look cool, that sucks and annoying. And then I kept like thinking like, okay, if you're trying to look kind, for example, that's good.
Yes.
So I've re-angled. I'm like, all right, like it's one thing like to be like kind or whatever.
Sure.
But it's like, but trying to, it's one thing to be cool or smart or whatever.
Yeah.
But trying to look, adding the trying to look element really changed it for me.
100%. And I also think like when you're in terms of like trying to look nice, right?
Yeah.
Like I think even if it's a try,
it can also be performative, which is
totally. But I would argue that even if it's performative, it's kind of in the pursuit of something good, right? Like even if it's not, because I when I think
unless you're evil.
Exactly. When I think back to people who like weren't nice enough to me, I'm like, that I guess that's on some level who they are and how they wanted to act. But if they had like tried to be nice, even if that wasn't like in their general character, I guess I was just like at a certain point, like if you don't make the effort to be nice to people in general, then like that sucks. But then even if you're not, even if you don't value me, like all these people who were like older than me, cooler than me in the comedy scene when I first got here. Like people who made the effort, who literally tried to be nice. Like they didn't necessarily like want to be my friend. They didn't want to like hang out with me, but they wanted to be nice to me. That makes a real difference.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's like inclusive enough. And then it's even cooler. Doing.
The outro.
Then it's even cooler when they're like genuinely interested in cultivating relationships. Blah, 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 blah. But that basic trying to be nice to people really works.
I like the noise. But yeah, no, for sure.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, being kind is good.
Yeah.
And like from that, you know, it's like I've seen people do that for me, and then I try to turn around and go, all right, you know, I'm at, you know, a circle of people.
Yeah.
Somebody's coming in and like maybe like they're a lower status character or something than like the group. It's like I will turn and be like, this is my friend. This is my friend Maya.
Hey.
I understand she's very uncool and you guys are cool.
Yeah. You guys get a load of Maya.
Yeah. But then it sometimes does suck where you can feel. I mean, it's very funny where I'm like, I'll be in a situation or something, and it's like I'm the outside character, and this a group of people isn't letting you in. You're like, guys, don't you know that like we're adults now?
Right.
Like,
right.
Don't you know how to be nice to people?
Yes.
Are you dumb?
Right. And then like how do you react to that too? Where it's like they're being assholes and you're being like children.
I'm like, what is?
And
this?
then you're like, I've been in situations like that where I'm like, okay, you're obviously an idiot. But you're making me feel excluded. Like, do I like try to get in?
Yeah, it's
you
like
know what I mean?
if your group is exclusive, why am I? I mean, at the same time, I don't know. It's like because I'm trying to be nice to them,
right?
You know, it's
exactly. Like, what am I? Is the point then to like be like, yeah, I don't care about this, and you know, blow it off, or is the point to be like nice to people even when they're exclusive, or is it like I don't know?
Yeah, sometimes I think that is because the thought is like, if somebody's mean to me, I am often just kind back as like a. I mean, yeah, just kind back as like a like. You know, you can also choose this path.
100%.
You know what I mean?
That's 100%. I know. That was
Unless they try to walk all over me or something, but that's not really
right. And then I'll beat you up.
Yeah. You ever fought anybody?
No. No.
Yeah.
No, I've never done anything. I'm completely devoid of experience.
It's cool to get into the nitty gritty of kindness with you because I feel like you're a very kind person.
And I would say the same about you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's like but you know, and people who are kind, you know, they've thought about it.
100%. I remember in college, like, there was a point. I don't know what happened, but there was a point where I remember thinking to myself, like, oh yeah, I guess I am really nice. Like, I think when I was younger, I was like. As you know, you're young. I was a little selfish and a little like self-indulgent and like acted in self-interest a good amount, normal amount. Don't know if it was too much or a normal amount, but I remember kind of making this observation that I had like a switch in me from being kind of like more interested in like self-preservation and boosting myself and like getting what I wanted to really trying to relate to people, really wanting to build connections, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just remember like clocking it like when I was like a senior in college being like, oh yeah, that's like way more important to me now. I don't know when that changed, but like I'm thinking actively about
building community.
Yeah. It was a shift. Like it wasn't something where I was like, I was born sweet. I've been sweet since the beginning. And maybe I was on some level, but there was an active moment where I was like, oh yeah, like this nice is important. Okay, sick. And then kind of like, it's, you know, whatever.
I mean, no, I agree. I'm just saying there's still times in my life, I was like, where I hit that, where I'm like, this situation boils my blood or I'm mad at this person. But like the like magnanimous way forward is to like not be resentful or bitter or 100%. Even like react in any way and just like, you know, move sideways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it also helps you avoid the kind of like, the horrible stew of like being upset, you know?
Yeah.
It allows you kind of be like, okay, that like bad thing happened. Ow, mad. And then you're like, okay, well, how do I just like let go of this bad feeling and figure out how to be normal about it? And in the process, you literally let go of the upset feeling on some level.
Yeah.
You know, you're able to like sidestep is a good way to put it.
You kind of catch it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, let me,
Totally.
I've had the same thing where like, okay, sometimes I'll have back pain and like it'll like hurt real bad, and then I'll think about, and I'll get into this weird thought loop where I'll go, what is pain? How does this feel bad?
Whoa.
What does it mean for like something to feel bad? Like, how am I, like, I was thinking about the sensory idea of like, you can experience the color blue, the color red, etc. How is like a thing either like pleasurable or unpleasurable? And and like thinking about the idea of like, how is my brain going like saying bad thing, and then that like made it like fully in like a box,
right?
Where I was like,
whoa,
I was like able to like look at it. I was like,
that.
What the fuck? You know what I mean? Because
100%.
But that then ruined pleasure for me.
Hey, pleasure's in a box too.
Yeah, pleasure's in a now if I'm experiencing pleasure in any capacity, I'm often going, what is this? How does this feel good? What does good mean?
Yeah.
And then I just ruin my
life.
But anyway, yeah.
It's interesting because this is something I've been, I don't know, I was talking about in therapy, but I used to have really, really horrible health anxiety and like feel like I was worried that I was dying like all the time from like 1,000 different angles. Like I'd have a chest pain and it would whatever. And it was really pervasive and I had it so much. And I remember at the time my therapist was like, instead of fighting it and being like, oh no, what if you could just accept that like, okay, this we'll find out, we'll find out if this is me dying. And I was like, duh, that's scary. That sucks. I don't want to like feel like I'm dying and accept it. That sounds horrible. But then what happened is I felt that feeling of like fear and anxiety so often and trained myself as much as I could to be like, sit this out. You'll know when it's bad. You'll know when it turns into something that's like completely inescapable. Just sit it out as long as you can. And now at this point, when I get something like a chest pain, I instinctually know I'm like, okay. And if it happens, it will happen. And I will know when it's happening and I can make a decision at that point, I know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so that was like, that for me was a big moment of like, oh, right. There's like, there's the horrible feeling. And then there's the willingness to like, not live in it, to just kind of observe it and be like, I'll get more information later. Like this will keep providing me with information. I can make decisions based on the information. But yeah, no, that was something I like an example in my life that started with kind of like this like very mental health bent. And then once it happened in that zone, I was like, oh, right. Kind of with anything I can like experience emotional or physical pain and figure out I will know when it's time to address it in a way that's like confrontational or like direct, like
because sometimes you do have to confront stuff.
100%.
If somebody's mean to you directly, sometimes you have to be like, hey, you are being mean.
Cut
to
it
me.
out.
You know what
I
mean?
Yeah. Or make the active decision to cut them out of your life. You know what I mean?
True,
like that kind of like active choice making. But
not in the moment. And you can say, I need to wait to.
Yeah, let's get more information on this. Like, how will I feel about this in 20 minutes? How will how does like all that kind of stuff that feels like you can make more informed decisions about how to function in your life, which very often can lead to that feeling of like, okay, yeah, this sucks. How am I going to make the choice to be kind? Because I know that's what I value. And so even though I'm having this immediate feeling of this sucks, what if I like held on that feeling for a second and just proceeded how I normally would, which is like with kindness.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that default state, but gathering the intel or the information, like processing it in the background.
Yeah.
Because you can't process, like, especially because I feel like anger and shit like that does fuck up my processing
for sure. And not to bring it back again, but I think in terms of like writer's block and stuff too, there's this like when I'm sitting down to write something like for Ladies Who Ranch, for example, I am like beating against my head inside of my own head, like the kind of like, what do I say? Like, what do I have to say? And the pain of being like, I don't know what I want to do here. I'm not having any ideas. What does it mean that I don't have any ideas right now? Like, and if I just kind of am like, all right, this is where I'm at. Like, maybe I'll go get some water and then sit back down. Like, making that conscious decision to not let yourself be overtaken by this immediate feeling of bad about yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Not sure I've like fully practiced that, but I think it like makes sense to me that if you're feeling like a really bad way about your own output, like figure out how to be kind in that moment.
I literally have written down like
a
series of. Hold on, wait, let me find it real quick. What's that?
I forgot about my tea.
Oh yeah, drink some tea. Yeah, corrective mechanisms.
Hey.
And so this is like literally like a
I love
my writer's block like cheat sheet that I got going.
Yeah.
And it's like just do a mental list and see if I need to do any of these things.
Yeah.
Nap, food, water, caffeine, nutrition, exercise, dance, talk to old friends, riff, game, editing leads to writing.
Hell yeah, dude. That rocks. I mean, like, that's something. That's such a clear way to get into it.
Yeah.
I'm going to copy that.
I'll let you take a photo of that if you want.
Yeah, I will.
Sometimes one of the best ones on there. So just real quick, one of the best ones on there, talking to old friends, always gets me feeling good and back in the zone. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that I find sometimes when I do that trick of like, what do I need right now? I actually can't figure it out, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess I very often get stuck where it's like I'm in that writer's block moment. I know it's not working. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to like break this open, but nothing is like coming up like, oh, I need to nap, or I need water, or I need to like focus on something fun. I'm just sitting there like stuck in, I don't know how to fix this. So then finally I do something like to break the tension versus to like fill me up, if that makes sense. Like I'm not doing something to like actually please myself. I'm doing something to like get away from the discomfort.
Yes. Yeah.
And having a list like that makes it that much easier to be like, do I need to do any of these?
Yeah,
are any of these things the things I need?
Because like, look at it and go, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I was too tired to notice that I was tired.
Yes.
Until I looked at my thing.
100%.
Also, I think we're
intermission.
Yeah, we're a little over an hour actually. I think we did like 8 minutes over. So but just, we were flying. We're having too much fun.
Yeah. No, we're building philosophies over here.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Ooh.
I'll plug briefly that you should check out Wendleton's Ment on Twitter. Is it at Maya Sharma?
Good job, Maya.
At Good Job Maya.
Yeah. On all socials.
On all socials. Good job, Maya. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And then what am I plugging? When does this come out?
Like 2 days.
Hell
tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, so this Saturday I'm hosting a show at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective. So
August 6th.
August 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry. Today's the okay.
Yeah.
Today's the 8th. Today's the 8th.
Today
this
is
Saturday,
the 8th.
August 13th.
This is coming out on the 10th and on the 13th.
Yeah,
probably. I don't know. On the 13th, I have a show at Brooklyn Comedy Collective at 8:30 called the Maya Sharma Indulgence Hour, and it's one where I host, and I'm excited about it. And friend of the pod, Cameron Bradford's going to be on it.
Oh, hell yeah!
So I think it's going to be a good time.
Cameron Bradford's on it.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod.
Friend
of the pod, Cameron Bradford.
I would think so.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be fun. That and then
roommate of the pod.
Yeah. Can't hear us in the other room of the pod. But yeah, that and then end of the month, Ladies Who Ranch. He's like, excuse me.
Sorry. End of the month, Ladies Who Ranch.
Ladies Who Ranch, end of the month.
It's the last Tuesday of every month, or last third.
I think it's the. I think it's the last
Tuesday, right?
Wednesday.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Last Wednesday of every month. And this month, I think it's actually the fourth Wednesday of every month. But this month it's going to be the last Wednesday, and we're doing an hour of improv.
Hell yeah!
And I'm excited. And I didn't talk about it on the podcast. The most important thing to me is improv comedy.
Oh, you know what? I guess we'll have to talk about it in the next episode.
On episode 2.
Yeah? What? That'd be great.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.